distract from this report by sort of people talking about her health. But we should start probably by saying she said she's not feeling well enough to come and talk about this in public, but sort of saying she's watching it, keeping a close eye from behind closed doors.
Yeah, absolutely. This should not be seen as a return to work by the Princess of Wales, but I have been told she's A, read the report and B, been briefed on it. But this all stems really from her work when she started being a working member of the royal family, where she was working closely with people suffering from addiction, mental health problems. And what she found is all of these issues tend to stem from a poor start in life, so the first 5 years of a child's life. So in January 2023, she set up Shaping Us, this awareness campaign for the early years. 2 months later, she convened the Business Task Force, so 8 members of big businesses across the UK, and over a generation, that could add, as they claim, more than £40 billion to the UK economy each year. We spoke to Peter Grigg yesterday. He's the chair of Home Starts UK, a charity which supports young families. Let's hear what he said about the Princess's role in this.
She's been a real driving force behind the report and everything it's done. And when we've spent time with the Royal Foundation, what it does, it reminds everyone that this is really important work and early childhood matters, that more businesses should get involved, that more charities are out there for people who want to do more to support families and children. So it's been a wonderful experience.
The People's Channel.
Very good evening. You're watching and listening to GB News. It's 11 o'clock. A look at the headlines tonight. Sir Keir Starmer is set to pitch Labour as the party of national security as he switches attention to defence on the campaign trail this week. The Labour leader will meet with veterans and candidates in the northwest of England tomorrow. He's also expected to reaffirm his commitment to a nuclear deterrent triple lock and the aim to increase defence spending to 2.5% of GDP. Well, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has already set out his target of the 2.5% defence spending by 2030, but Labour hasn't so far specified its own timeline. And staying with Labour, Diane Abbott has confirmed tonight that she will run as a candidate for the party in July's general election. The veteran MP will represent Hackney North and Stoke Newington, a seat she's held for many years, after speculation that she may have chosen to stand down. She's posted on social media tonight denying that she's been offered a seat in the House of Lords and said that she wouldn't accept one if she retired. Meanwhile, the Conservatives are pledging to amend the Equality Act to define the protected characteristic of sex as biological sex. The Tories claim the change will help service providers for women and girls, like those supporting domestic abuse victims, to exclude biological males. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak argues that Labour's Equality Act, he says, lacks clarity on when it means sex and when it means gender. However, it's understood the proposed changes to the law would not remove the existing protections against discrimination on the basis of gender reassignment. And the Liberal Democrats are pushing for new protections for rivers and coastlines to combat what they've described as environmental vandalism. Their manifesto is expected to include expanded marine protected areas and blue flag status for rivers. Leader Sir Ed Davey is accusing the current government of failing to protect swimmers and wildlife from sewage discharge. And that comes as data from the Environment Agency has shown that a 54% rise in sewage spills took place last year. Prince William has praised Rob Burrow as the legend of rugby league, and he says with a huge heart. The former England international and charity fundraiser has died at the age of 41. He was diagnosed with motor neurone disease in 2019 before being awarded a CBE for helping to raise millions of pounds to promote awareness of the MND condition. It came just 2 years after he retired from playing following a successful 17-year career, including 8 grand final wins. Well, he spent that entire career playing for Leeds Rhinos, who announced the news tonight, saying he was an inspiration to the entire country. North Korea has launched what's being described as a bizarre barrage of balloons filled with rubbish, cigarette butts and suspected animal poo floating towards its southern neighbour. More than 700 balloons have been found so far in various parts of South Korea, with chemical and explosive clearance teams being dispatched to recover debris. In Seoul, the South Korean government's calling it a dirty provocation from the north. However, Pyongyang says it's in retaliation for defectors and activists who often send their own inflatables across the border. And finally, media mogul Rupert Murdoch has married again for the 5th time at the age of 93, tying the knot with retired Russian molecular biologist Alina Zhukova at his California vineyard. These wedding photos, if you're watching on TV, were taken showing Mr Murdoch in his black suit with a yellow tie, beaming alongside his new 67-year-old wife. It comes after his previous brief engagement to Anne Leslie Smith, which ended a year ago. His global media empire began in the 1950s and includes The Sun, The Wall Street Journal and Fox News. For the latest stories, sign up to GB News Alerts. You can scan the QR code on your screen or go to gbnews.com/alerts. Now, though, it's time for Headliners.
Thank you, Sam. Hello and welcome to Headliners, your run through the next day's papers with 3 comedians. I'm Leo Carson. Tonight I'm joined by Paul Cox, the People's Gammon, and Lewis Schaefer, the People's Schnitzel. How are you both doing?
What does that mean, the People's Schnitzel?
I'm not entirely sure, but...
I'm covered in carbs. That's what it is. That's what schnitzel is.
What I'm more interested in is why you are dressed like you're running for the election in Uganda.
I asked you not to mention it because I haven't thought it out. It was because of Paul. Right. I shouldn't say what the reason is. Paul wore some outrageous jacket the last time you were on, and you destroyed me. Yeah. And so now this is my punishment.
Well, I think a lot of people right now are trying to adjust the vertical tracking on the television sets. Anyway, let's have a quick look at Monday's front pages. The Times leads with Tory vow to end abuse of gender laws by predators. The Guardian has care agencies accused of exploiting foreign workers. The Daily Mail has sex is a fact of biology. The Daily Express has he inspired the nation. Rob Burrow dies at 41 after motor neuron disease battle. The Independent has NHS fails to carry out any actions urged by Jimmy Savile inquiry. And finally, the Daily Star has the bravest man in Britain. And those were your front pages. And let's have a closer look at those front pages, starting with The Times, Lewis.
The Times. What do we talk about The Times? Tories vow to end abuse of gender laws by predators, which is what you should do.
Yes.
I mean, they're predators. You can say any law we're going to say this guy cannot participate in. Badenoch promises more protection for women. It's a little bit late in the game.
So this is to stop. This is to stop, male rapists going into women's prisons or women's changing rooms and perpetrating more crimes. I mean, it does seem to be like a good idea. But I guess people on the left would say, well, how are you going to tell, who are the male rapists? Yeah. How are you going to tell who are just the genuine, women, female-identifying men like me? I mean, I'm a woman, and I want to go in those changing rooms.
You certainly are, Leo.
And that's a very, very good point. But the truth is that the people on the left, they think that women need protection, but these people are even more vulnerable. What is it? What is that called? Where you're fighting over who's the most vulnerable one. And they think that people need, who are being transed or whatever, transing themselves, they need more protection than women do. Yeah,
I mean, it seems like for eons, for millennia, I mean, women have a sort of inbuilt biological instinct to know that men present danger. So to allow men into women's spaces, which have for centuries been safe spaces for good reason, seems like a terrible idea. So it's sensible to put some safeguards on that.
I think so too, and I'm slightly disappointed by the way the Times have framed this, because they say Kemi Badenoch will accuse sexual predators and activist campaign groups of abusing Britain's equality laws. There's no accusation. The evidence is there. She's not accusing them. She's saying this has happened too many times. And even if someone goes, oh, it's only happened once. Imagine if someone just says it's only happened once.
Yeah.
Like, that's not enough.
Yeah.
That's much more than enough. And if we've got laws that enable this abuse to take place, of course we should do things about it. Now, this doesn't mean chucking trans people under the bus, but what it does mean is protecting biological women in biological women's safe spaces.
Yeah.
And I find it very difficult to hear anyone who argues against that. Now, I know why they do. There are a lot of people very sensitive because they want to protect, usually they want to protect trans people. You very rarely hear trans people saying this.
Yeah.
Trans people usually just want to get on with their lives.
Genuine trans people just want to get on with their lives, as you say, and also the genuine trans people can often pass and can use facilities without anybody raising any objections. It's when the new
How do you know? How do you know?
Well, when you get now you've got male rapists suddenly deciding halfway through their trial, actually I identify as a woman, so send me to a women's prison. There's an obvious incentive there for them to get sent to a women's prison and start identifying. They're not genuine.
So the question I have for you is how does this help the Tories get elected?
Oh, it doesn't. I mean, that's
That's the greatest question you've ever asked us. It doesn't, does it?
It doesn't. So why are they raising it at this time? Why is the time?
Maybe they're leaving it as a legacy. Not to prejudge the election. It could go either way, but it's unlikely. The polls say it's unlikely to go one of the ways. But they're leaving a legacy. When outgoing governments sometimes do this, they leave laws and systems that the incoming government will have to carry on.
But this isn't the law. It isn't the system. It's just somebody who maybe has a chance of being the whatchamacallit in the.
They're going to update the Equality Act, maybe.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Who knows? We'll see if they do. Anyway, moving on to The Guardian, Paul. What have they got in the cover?
Yeah, care agencies accused of exploiting foreign workers. Quelle surprise. British social care agencies have been accused of exploiting foreign workers, leaving migrants living on the breadline as they struggle to pay off debt. Now, this is in The Guardian. And The Guardian here... it's almost as if they're posting this as if they don't already know this is a problem, and even worse for me, haven't been complicit in enabling this.
And now, this is so migrants are they're paying thousands of pounds to agencies to get them work in the UK, and then when they come to the UK, they're finding there's no work, and the agencies have basically fleeced them.
Well, one of the reasons that we've had uncontrolled immigration, or one of the reasons it started, is uncontrolled now because it's out of control. Yeah. But one of the reasons it started, and I say this all the time, it started under the Blairite Labour government because they wanted to boost the economy. However, when it's uncontrolled in this way, you will end up with the cheapest possible labour. And people like The Guardian are pretending they don't know that. Of course they know that. They've been complicit in that the whole way through because they've done absolutely nothing to stop it because they've not talked about it. And now they're talking about it like it's some dastardly human problem. They've been involved in it all along. Now, I think the conversation should be there should be better controls on immigration, and when people get here, if they and are welcomed and have assimilated themselves into our society, they should be given jobs worthy of any human being.
But wouldn't you consider that a form of exploitation, forcing these poor people to work to get a job?
Well, it's also exploiting British workers because it's with an uncapped labour supply. There's nothing to
it's anti-union.
Wages up.
Right, it's anti-union and it's anti the British employee and the British person. Immigration, a little bit of immigration is good. It's like spices in a soup. They let Louis Schaefer come into the country. It's a much better place because of that. But if you have too many of me, even I look at myself like there's too much of.
Can you imagine too many Lewises?
Yeah, it's
I'll be on a plane for Rwanda.
It's wrong.
Moving on, we've got The Independent. What have they got in the cover?
Oh, The Independent. NHS fails to carry out any actions urged by Jimmy Savile inquiry. You might remember Jimmy Savile. He was very He was very popular. He was so popular they let him just do whatever he wanted to do. All over the NHS they let him. And I stayed in his hospital that he built. It was a magnificent, scary hospital.
Right.
Where is that? Stoke Mandeville Hospital.
How old were you?
I was just
out of range.
I said, Jimmy, are you here? Are you here, Jimmy? He seemed like a lovely guy. And this country has a lot of great things. I love England. Not really, but I love England. But this country is like the home of pedos. It's like in America. They don't have pedos like this. They don't. They maybe have, what's his name?
Jeffrey Epstein.
Jeffrey Epstein.
Jeffrey Epstein. But yeah, he's if you're going to talk... if you're going to talk paedophiles, I think, you don't get the Michael Jackson or Jeffrey Epstein level in the UK. It's
We're
always
just not capable of producing cool people like that. That's the problem, isn't it? I mean, I don't want to get involved in this because I don't know what I'm going to say. I'm going to try and say anything just to be funny, and that could get me in trouble. But it says that 302 out of a possible 1,400 recommendations over the period, which is 1967 to now.
Yeah.
302, which I calculate to be around about the 20% mark, just over. That is not any. There's still 20% of them.
Yeah.
But that's a vast majority, just to point out to the Independent. They've probably got, I don't know, Diane Abbott to write this or something. But
that's a different... That's looking at all these inquiries, whereas this, you know, the headline is just specifically about the Jimmy Savile inquiry. And they haven't carried out any of the actions recommended in it, although Jimmy Savile is, I believe, dead. So at least that one's taken care of. You know, don't let him near any hospitals was probably the #1 recommendation.
Well, they reburied him, didn't they? They didn't let him even be buried in a house. But I found it very weird here. It says that the public inquiry was led by Lucy Letby. And that was... Oh, no.
I don't think it was, Liz.
OK, well, that's the front pages out of the way. Join us in part 2 for Diane Abbott, why Donald Trump will be taking a staycation this year, and the arrests made at the Tommy Robinson protests. See you in a couple of minutes.
Nana Queer, weekends from 3 p.m.
What about the elections? Because it seems that the King and everything is moving because of it, and we've got a lot of royal engagements and things that happen at this time.
Yes, well, you know, it means that he has to take more time and be at home. He can't go to all the things he wants to do. He's been doing 5 a day, which is probably made Camilla a bit cross. But what they still hope is that they can get the Japanese Emperor and Empress over. That's in July. That they can go to France for the 80th anniversary of the fighting. And he will be able to do 1 or 2 things, and Ascot he's very keen to do. Now, those aren't things that are political in any way. Just want to talk about Harry and Charles's argument, where Harry said he didn't want to stay, he wanted to go to a hotel. And it's come out now that actually King Charles is believed that he was offered St James's, and Princess Anne stays there and Beatrice stays there.
And this was for when Harry came over for his 10th anniversary. Exactly. And the policemen are wandering around with guns, and there's no chance of actually there being any problem there. So the fact that he said that it wasn't safe for him was not actually a very sensible thing to say, I don't think.
Well, he went to Nigeria, and that is, in the world ranking, it's ranked as quite a dangerous place.
Yes, one of the dangerous places in the world. But now Harry and Meghan have been invited to go to Ghana.
Oh, God. Well, it's interesting because my parents are from Ghana. I have Ghanaian heritage, and I'm thinking she'll probably then claim there's a percentage that she's Ghanaian as well. I'll be like, hang on a minute, you were Maltese, you're also Nigerian,
and
now you're going to say you're Ghanaian and German.
Yeah.
Come on. Thank you very much.
Squeeze it in.
Yeah, let's get them all in. Angela Levin, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The People's Channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
We'll be there.
This is GB News.
the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
down to earth,
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
and most importantly, honest,
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And why it matters to you. From your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you. Good afternoon, Britain. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. We've got the Independent now, and Diane Abbott has ended the will she, won't she speculation and declared she will run for Labour, which is great because she's definitely in one of the top 3 most competent candidates, Lewis.
Who I don't know the names of, and I'm going to get into trouble because there's something called... I don't even know why we're discussing this, really, because I don't know. Diane Abbott declares she will run as a Labour candidate and intends to win. Of course she intends. Everybody runs. I guess do they intend to win?
Could you imagine if he didn't?
Well, I mean, yeah, like Donald Trump, he's intending. Anyway, she's running for MP. She got mad at, what's his name? It's Keir Starmer, because Keir Starmer didn't want her around because she reminds him of Jeremy Corbyn and the trouble that he gave.
Yeah, well, she was part of the momentum lot that Starmer has, to a certain extent, purged from the Labour Party.
Right. But Keir Starmer thinks to himself, oh, my, well, we might as well let her run. We'll stop everybody else, but we'll let her run because we're going to win anyway.
Well, and also, yeah, historically, she's got whopping majorities in that.
Has she?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's London. It's like New York. It's like my town, New York.
It's not. But
no, it isn't. Why do you have to say that?
Sorry, I couldn't think of one comparison. That's why. It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, there's always a candidate within major parties like this. They're a little bit of a thorn in the side of the leader. She's a legacy candidate. She has a history of winning in Hackney, huge majorities, as you say. For us,
the other people who are very good and have an equal chance to win.
I think.
What are their names?
I think there's the Tory one, there's the Reform one, Labour, and the raving Liberal Democrat Party.
Yeah.
I also think they've all got an equal chance of winning, and I've read the Ofcom policy too.
Yeah.
But one thing I would say is, let's imagine if she does run and she does win. Fair play to her. Also gives us 5 years of new material. So
because she is prone to making some hilarious gaffes, such as when she put shoes on the wrong feet. I think she had 2 left shoes, but unfortunately, one of her feet was left and the other one was right, like everybody.
And there were 2 different shoes as well.
And she also said that she said in a letter to the Observer that the discrimination that Jews face is basically the same as what gingers face.
Yeah.
Which I think some people who remember the Holocaust might be offended by that.
Yeah.
Well, you don't know. I don't know what it's like to be a ginger. But the other side of it is that she didn't show up for that big vote in Brexit. Do you remember that? They were waiting for her to appear for the big vote, and she never turned up, and people were quite... And I thought to myself, that's a Schafarian move. Just like that turning up at this huge thing.
Probably tripped over her shoes. Yeah. Anyway, we've got the Independent now, and Trump's conviction means he's banned from a bunch of countries. Thank God for Zoom calls, Paul. He's still able to be president.
Good point. Donald Trump's felony conviction now means he's banned from a host of countries, including Canada, which I don't think he was planning to go to anyway, and the UK. Nearly 40 nations, 37 to be exact, including, as the aforementioned Canada and UK, have strict policies when it comes to allowing individuals with criminal records to cross their borders. Barring any special accommodation, Trump would be held against these 2, which is amazing / hilarious when you think that Robert Mugabe come here quite a few times. Robert Mugabe, Pinochet, all been to London probably more than Donald Trump on official visits, right? Donald Trump just made an accountancy admin error. I'm not trying to belittle it.
Yeah.
That's just what he's been convicted of, and of course it'll get overturned. Yeah. But when you make that comparison,
don't say of course. We don't know what's going to happen.
No, I don't know.
On appeal, I don't think it will be overturned. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the judges, but they're not from a demographic that's traditionally favourable to Donald Trump. So that we've got 4 appeal court judges, and they're all black women. So it almost seems, and the chances of that happening, because only 1.5% of judges across the US are black women, the chance of that happening naturally is quite rare. So it seems like this is all a sort of orchestrated political move to really sort of rub Donald Trump's face in it.
Yeah, and I think it's going to have in this circle, everybody sides with Donald Trump. They don't like Donald Trump, but they side with him.
I don't side with Donald Trump, but this is the interesting thing. It's really given a boost to Donald Trump's career. Now, people like me are coming out and batting for Donald Trump because we can see it, and we see this in America. People are really getting behind him. They've donated loads of money to his campaign. So this is actually, the Democrats are trying to bring him down, but it's giving him a huge boost.
And you know that some people think, that Piers Morgan thinks he's going to win because he's started to back him now as well, isn't he? And Piers only ever tries to back the winner. He doesn't care who they are. The nuts and bolts of it are, should he become president again, he will be welcome in the UK. There's absolutely no way he wouldn't be.
Well, of course.
Can I ask a question? Why is Paul so sure about everything? How do you get to be this? You're like an American level of sureness.
I am delusional, you see.
How
do you think I got here?
The president can commute sentences, so I'm pretty sure first on his list would be commuting his own sentence if he's still in prison.
Well, I like the idea that the Independent, which really isn't a newspaper, it's just online.
All particularly independent.
Yeah, it says he's been banned from a host of countries. He's not been banned. It just says if you committed this crime, we won't let you in. But they haven't written a letter to him saying we're banning you because of this.
Yeah.
Number two is that Paul McCartney, the great Paul McCartney from the Beatles, he was kicked out of. He was like in Japan and he was arrested and put in jail or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And he went back there, so stuff happens.
Yeah, he's sort of like the president. Anyway, we've got the.
And why would you? I don't want to interrupt you, but most going to. But most. I'm not interrupting.
Our representative from the ANC party.
Stop talking while I'm interrupting. Is that why would he want to go visit Canada or the
It's just
United
like a rubbish
Kingdom?
version of America.
No, it's not. It's just.
I think it's been there.
It looks similar, but it's not the same thing.
It's a rubbish version. That's exactly what I said. Anyway, Lewis.
Sorry, I didn't mean
We've
to
got the
interrupt.
Telegraph now, and it looks like rubbish left-wing countries, speaking of Canada, are ganging up on Israel, Lewis.
Well, that is true, according to this. Chile to join South Africa genocide case against Israel, which, you think that South Africa has nothing to get involved in. But now Chile, which has even less than nothing, it's one of the longest coastlines in the world, I think.
Chile is.
Chile is,
Right.
yeah. What country has the longest coastline in the world?
Maybe Norway? China? No, not China.
If it's not Chile, it's probably Argentina, isn't it?
It's, you know what? You'd have to say, please define what it is a border, because it could be anything. It's very...
Imagine if that was anything to do with the story.
No.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. It's like, let's gang. It's basically, there's a left-wing government there. It's not Pinochet like we used to love.
Yeah.
Right?
Come on over.
Yeah, it's a left-wing thing, and that's what this is. The Chileans, I don't think they hate the Jews enough to care that much, I would guess. Right there in South America.
Yeah.
But they do hate the idea of Israel being a state independent when they're fighting Team World.
Right.
And they want to be part of, the left is Team World.
And we're seeing, the split in countries supporting Israel or not supporting Israel. It's sort of dividing along the sort of old geopolitical lines of, the West supports Israel and these other countries like Russia. And interestingly, South Africa has been bizarrely sort of vehemently opposed to Israel. And interestingly, the ANC, who have been the ruling party in South Africa for 30 years, but that might be about to slightly change. They just lost their majority in the election. But Russia funds the ANC through a manganese mine in South Africa. So the ANC get half of their funding from Russia. So Russia's obviously pulling strings in South Africa.
It's grandstanding, isn't it? It's partisanship. We understand what's going on. And I mean, at the end of the day, Chile and South Africa is like Harold Shipman having a pop at Fred West. I mean, these aren't...
No, that's not true. Chile is a lovely country from what I've heard.
Yeah, Pinochet was...
that we're talking 40, 50 years.
Well,
Pinochet,
you know
Pinochet
what?
was
Germany,
50 years
Adolf
ago.
Hitler, we still remember, mate. You can't take it away.
You know, and I need you to stop acting like you know what you're talking about.
Well, we've got the Mail now, and there were arrests at Tommy Robinson's protest. But surprisingly, this time they weren't Tommy. Maybe because the protest was actually about Tommy being targeted with two-tier policing, Paul.
Yeah, double interesting that, wasn't it? Police arrested several pro-Palestine counter-protesters as Tommy Robinson led a 1,000-strong march through London against two-tier policing. So this, the opposition to this, particularly on the day and since, has been a group called Youth Demand, and good on them. On X, formerly Twitter, London's Metropolitan Police said that the protesters were already subject, and this is the Youth Demand ones, already subject to conditions not to leave the pavement, and a number of them have been arrested for breaching those conditions. So they weren't doing anything particularly bad, and they felt like they had to arrest them because they stepped off the pavement.
It's similar to the St George's Day arrests, but, this time it's for the other side.
Yeah, well, you know what? There has been... It's very interesting, right? I'm not suggesting for a minute this is easy to police, but the police have found it very easy to choose which ones they're going to smash over the back of the head with a baton.
I think they've got a Dulux colour chart that they hold up, and if you're pasty enough, they feel entitled to
if your name's Colin, you're going to get a whack. Basically.
No, but the thing that makes this interesting is basically they're being arrested for walking in the street. Meanwhile, for like the last 7, 8, whatever long these demonstrations have been going on, that they've been saying and doing horrific things, and these are horrific people.
It was so true, because London has turned into this protest paradise now, isn't it? Where you can demand anything you like as long as it's on a Saturday afternoon. And it's just every weekend now, isn't it? It's like Hyde Park Corner, but all over Zone 1.
Yeah. And what's interesting is this protest has been smeared in the mainstream media to a certain extent as, you know, these racist thugs with their far-right chants. And then I read on to see what this hate crime chant was. And they were singing Allah, Allah, who the F is Allah? Which, you know, as a British person, that's just ridiculous British irreverent humour. That's not
it's football.
It's football terrorist songs. You know, we've sung, us three, none of them. Well, he's from the ANC, he might have done. But you know. Generally, people have sung much worse songs, particularly in sectarianism in Scotland.
Yeah.
You know,
and sectarianism at some of the protests, the anti-Israel protests, where people have been chanting horrific, you know, genocidal calls for jihad and for Israel to be exterminated. And then, bizarrely, you've got, you know, these supposed left-wing anti-racism groups that are then aligned with these people chanting genocidal chants. I can't. Nothing makes sense anymore.
It's a very good point because these people who are attacking, you know, Allah, whatever it is they're the same people who don't believe in God themselves, who support the lack of belief in God, and then they're making a big deal about this thing.
Yeah, and it's interesting that it comes the same weekend as there's that tragic stabbing in Germany where an Islamist attacked a political rally and ended up killing a policeman, sadly.
Yeah. Has he died?
He's died, unfortunately.
I have absolutely no idea, and that's not good.
Yeah, that's not good. And not a nice note to go into the break on, but we are at the halfway point. Coming up, we've got more trouble for Stormy Daniels, female representation on BBC Comedy, and more immigration spending. See you in a couple of minutes.
Hello and welcome to your GB News weather update brought to you by the Met Office. Well, we've seen plenty of fine weather over the weekend. However, this week is going to be turning more unsettled and a little bit cooler. For today, though, we have had high pressure dominating the weather over the UK, but we have had this frontal system move into the northwest and a slight squeeze in those isobars too, so turning damp and rather windy. It is gradually going to be clouding over from the north through into this evening, staying clearest for longest across the south. And we will start to see some outbreaks of rain and drizzle continue to move their way into northwestern areas. So turning a little bit cooler under the clear spells in the south, but for most a rather mild night and most places not dropping below double digits. So to start on Monday, there will be a little bit of brightness in the south, but as I say, we'll gradually cloud over through the course of the morning, staying largely dry though. However, we will start to see some rain and drizzle move its way into northwestern England, northern parts of Wales, and quite a cloudy picture across Northern Ireland and northwest Scotland, still with that rain and drizzle, but brightening up through the morning across parts of Aberdeenshire, and there will be some sunny spells across the Northern Isles, but plenty of showers in between those spells of sunshine. Overall on Monday, it is going to be a rather cloudy picture, still with those spots of rain and drizzle in the northwest. By the time we reach the afternoon, it may brighten up a little bit across central and southern UK, but most of the sunshine is going to be across Scotland. However, quite a blustery day on offer there, so that will just take the edge off the temperatures a little bit. But in those sheltered spots where you catch the sunshine, it should still be feeling warm. Now, as we head into Tuesday, we are going to see a bit of a change. Further rain moving in from the northwest, quite blustery and plenty of showers behind too. However, it will still be staying dry across the south and southeast and still feeling warm where you do catch any sunnier spells, but cooler across Scotland, particularly in that wind. And as we head into next week, fairly unsettled, largely dry in the south, but it is going to be feeling largely cool.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. We've got the Mirror now, and Donald Trump's accuser Stormy Daniels is getting death threats, Paul.
Yeah, Stormy Daniels inundated with death threats as she says, "It will never end for me." Supporters of disgraced former US President, this in the Mirror, by the way, so hence the wording, former US President Donald Trump have aimed death threats at Stormy Daniels after her testimony in court helped bring about his guilty verdict. Well, I mean, it's not right. I don't condemn it. I know none of us three do condemn it. She's kind of put herself. I don't want to victim blame here at all. I'm desperately trying not to. So this is the bit, this is the bit where I begin to victim blame.
Yeah.
She kind of put herself in the centre of the target.
Yeah.
Now she has gone to court. She clearly has a vendetta. Now, many would argue for very good reasons, but she clearly has a vendetta against Trump.
Well, and also she owes them, I think, $620,000
yes.
of legal fees that she was ordered to pay.
However, it's really difficult. It feels like actually she's become a pawn in the Democrats' political game.
That's with a W.
Yes. Yes, on this occasion, she has become a pawn in the Democrats' political game, and they are milking her.
Again, that's metaphorical, isn't it?
Yeah, it is metaphorical.
This is not a video we can Google.
I think it's available, but we'll put a link in the comments.
Yeah.
But genuinely, though, I think she's now found herself in a very difficult position. I'm getting flashbacks to the Uranus story from last night now. But over to you, Leo, for Lewis. all over Lewis.
Lewis, she said nobody would ever want to publicly say that they had sex with Trump, and then she spent quite a long time, telling people in various court cases and magazine articles that she did have sex with Trump, and telling people in quite some detail.
And why did she have sex? Who would want to have sex with her? I know what's going on. There's the other side of things. She was a porn star, so nothing wrong with that. But she's not the thing about this piece of her. She was interviewed by the Mirror. And because she got at Trump, she's like a hero of the left. She's like what's the short woman who does the what's her name? Who's now like 28 years old, but she's 20.
Monica Lewinsky?
No, the other one. The other one.
Anne Whitcomb?
No, you know the one.
The short one. Yoda?
Greta Thunberg. Greta Thunberg. Greta Thunberg. Is
a short woman.
How would we have got to Greta toenail from that?
Greta Thunberg, she's a short woman.
Well, that's what she is. She's like she's a short woman. Nothing wrong with being short. Women like being short. Anyway, it said this. The courage and determination of Stormy displayed throughout this 18-year saga will undoubtedly leave a lasting legacy. They want her to be a hero. And if you're going to put yourself up for being a hero, people are not going to like you. Look at Tommy Robinson or whatever, all these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the first time Stormy Daniels been compared to Tommy Robinson. But anyway, moving on, we've got the Telegraph now, and despite having his own social media called Truth Social, Trump has joined TikTok and immediately got more followers than Biden.
Yes, that is totally true. The app he tried to ban because they were owned by the Chinese people, and who knows what they were doing with the information, and it's still owned by China. China. And the truth is that it says he got 450 followers in like 10 hours or something. So who knows how many millions he has? I don't check. I don't get. It's too entertaining for me.
Yeah.
I've got enough problems with the other ones. I'm at a certain age. I can't get any new ones. But he's so why shouldn't he be on? He's got to spread his message.
Yeah, and also, I mean, it's interesting that so many people have followed him on TikTok more than Biden, and there's also footage of a UFC match, big UFC match.
Oh man, 100,000.
We're 100,000 people all chanting, "We want Trump."
Really?
And by the way, that was in the Bronx?
No, that wasn't in the Bronx. The Bronx had like 12 people there. But the rest...
No, it was in the district of New York, though.
I think it was in New York.
So the idea... It wasn't 100,000 then. There's no station.
OK, we'll have that debate off air. But it was definitely in New York somewhere, and there was definitely 100,000 people. I don't know where exactly. I'm sure the viewers will let us know. So however, the idea is that this is very much a Democrat area, right? This is the place where they convicted Trump. Yet 100,000 of them who are going to arrest MMA? Something.
Yeah.
We don't know any of the details. Lots of them cheering for Trump.
Well,
it's very interesting.
They can Google it and tell us on at LewisSchaefer.com. LewisSchaefer.com.
Unbelievable.
.co.uk or...
Trump's basically said if you can't beat them, join them. He tried to ban TikTok. The courts in the US said, no, you can't do that. So he's gone, all right, I'll join him then, because there's hundreds of millions of people on TikTok.
Yeah.
As soon as Trump joins any social media platform, it's a huge boon for the platform, it's a huge boon for him, and it's now a campaign tool for him.
And it's interesting he's not back on Twitter. I'd have thought he'd rejoin, especially now that he needs as big a voice as possible.
Yeah, I think Truth Social's too similar, and he was...
And he's making a huge amount of money from it.
He's making money. If he
billions.
goes, as long as he's there, it's worth millions, billions. And if he's not there, so he can't do it.
Oh, yeah, of course. Well, anyway, we've got the Times now, and female comedians are moaning that there aren't enough women on panel shows. Luckily, tonight, I identify as a woman, so this show is meeting the quota, Paul.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to doing this. Female comedians shun BBC panel shows, willy-waving machismo, which, by the way, I think is a Scottish comedian. I don't know. A senior executive anonymously said that this senior executive from the BBC anonymously said this: panel shows are essentially 3 hours of willy-waving machismo, there he is again, and one-upmanship joke-telling. It's not a great environment for many female comedians to do their best material because they have very blokes down the pub feel to them. Now, it's unfortunate this because, this is a panel show with 4 guys on at the moment, and I wouldn't say there's been any willy-waving here tonight yet, or any machismo, actually.
Yeah, and it's more 3 guys behind a skip with a can of special
This is exactly that, the sort of people...
I will willy-wave if you're interested.
Please do. Do you know what? We all know really good female comedians, and we all know, and the ones we know would be able to handle themselves in this situation. Yeah. I don't know if you should go about changing things. Look, if it's outdated, it will go out of date.
Yeah.
OK? It will do. So create something and make it women only and see if it beats that.
Well, yeah, and they say Taskmaster, this was, a new format that was created a few years ago, and it's been a great platform for women because it doesn't have that sort of combative banter, so women can shine on it.
Yeah, so maybe they should change the whole thing to help me do better at some of these things. I mean, I have a hard time with this willy-waving guy. I mean, I have a hard enough time dealing with you guys, so it's not easy for anybody. There's lots of people. It's not that women aren't funny. Women are funny. It's just men aren't listening. We don't care. We don't care about them.
Fair enough. Well, we've got the Mail now with calls for the BBC to become the Paralympics of broadcasting, Lewis.
Yeah, same kind of thing. BBC is urged to increase disability representation across the channel after Strictly Come Dancing signed blind comedian Chris McLaughlin, who we've worked with. Have you worked with him?
I have worked with Chris. Lovely guy.
Great comedian as well.
He's a great comedian, lovely guy. He's blind. Not that people want to see blind people, and they don't want to see me with my grey hair. They want to see...
Well, you can't really tell that he's, obviously references it, but you wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know. I don't know. I don't watch these. I don't watch the BBC. I won't give them any money to watch the BBC.
Do you think a comedian could pretend to be blind or have some sort of disability to, get
We're weeks away, aren't we, from someone identifying?
I think you're already pretending to be a woman. Just do one thing at a time. So basically, I mean, the fact is that there's always been disabilities on the TV. They got old people on Strictly Come Dancing.
That's not a disability.
They've got people with no training.
It's not a disability.
They've got white people.
that is in 2024. That is a huge.
No, it's a white because white people can't dance.
Oh, I get it.
Oh yeah, I've seen the film.
I should have tested out the one joke I've thought of in like weeks. I wrote that down.
We are sort of charging towards just pushing for anything here, and every time you sort of give an inch, they want a mile, right? Okay. I mean, it's going to get to the point where I personally want to see this blind ski jumping. Why not? Okay, most of us are going to enjoy it. Just get it on the go. Look, it's great that Chris is doing
Somebody's
this.
going to tweet in saying that there was a blind ski jumper.
Eddie the Eagle. He had bottle bottom.
Who used bells to echo locate
where the ground was.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll probably get an email about that later. But I mean, how far do you push it?
Yeah.
It's great.
Well, when they talk about representation, I mean, obviously we need sort of fair representation on TVs. It should, reflect the population. But, I mean, how many... What is the proportion of disabled people? I mean, it's obviously not sort of 50-50.
Well, it doesn't match the disabled parking-based spaces, does it? We know that. Every time we go into a supermarket now, they're so terrified that they've got 40 spaces that are for disabled people with 30 on the outside for the rest of us, 500 of which are taken up for women with children or whatever the spaces are called. So there's been an overreaction. I'm not suggesting...
Well, thank God with my ADHD diagnosis, I can park right outside the door.
Exactly, yeah. Oh, straight through it.
What are you saying?
You weren't concentrating.
What are you saying?
I was just making a joke about, like, well, a lot of people now are getting diagnosed with ADHD or autism or whatever, whatever made-up mental condition, so that they can then have something interesting about them that gives them some victim points. Every comedian is getting ADHD diagnoses because everybody has got ADHD, especially if you're a comedian. If you could do a proper job, you'd do a proper job.
Then there'll be people without ADHD going on the TV. They'll say, I don't have ADHD, and then they're going to have room for it. I'm with...
And also...
Who are you with? You don't know who you're with, you don't know who you are.
Also, if you get diagnosed with ADHD, you get prescription-grade medical NHS speed.
Yes.
Amphetamines from the NHS, which is a ridiculous incentive for people to go out and get diagnosed. Yeah, I don't want to encourage people to do that. Anyway, The Guardian now with a call for taxpayers to dig deep to pay more for immigration. How about The Guardian pays for it this time, Paul?
Yeah, here we go. Guardian and immigration. Let's see what they come up with now. Immigration must be matched with investment in UK infrastructure to ease pressures. Net migration has benefits, but has done nothing to address downward trend in per capita GDP.
Interesting, amazing. That's The Guardian.
That's The Guardian. Can you imagine? Right. So what The Guardian failed to understand is that uncontrolled immigration is detrimental. So we're at a point that it's all very well and good, because they make a point there. They say, imagine that during the election campaign, Rishi Sunak announced that by 2038 he expected migration to boost the population by 3.7 million. What would your response be? Well, it depends on what you introduce.
Yeah, can I look at them?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the idea that it can all be uncontrolled and the higher the number, the better. It's not a score. That you can't go, oh, we've now got 80 million people in the country. 60 million of them can't work, but who cares? You know, it's all about controlling the quality. Now,
and also the integration as well. And this seems to suggest that this article suggests that it's going to cost a lot of money to integrate people and make sure that there's enough homes and enough infrastructure for them, Lewis.
But the question is, it's going to cost money. But why do we have immigrants? Why did I come to this country? It was a huge mistake.
You're already in a better country.
I was in a better country than this.
People normally come here because they can't get into America.
He was escaping.
It was my first wife. She lied to me. The truth is that immigration can help a little bit.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it doesn't help. They ask about Rishi Sunak, 3.7 million. How many millions of people did Tony Blair let into the country? That there's no mention of Tony Blair. So I don't know what I'm saying.
That's part 3 done. Join us in the final section for male housewives, ugly heartthrobs, and angry lesbians. Sounds like my weekend. Anyway, see you in a couple of minutes.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is about the Biden administration kind of resisting calls from Harry's lawyers whether or not this ongoing thing about releasing his visa records over the alleged, in Spare, he admitted to taking, remember his memoir Spare? He admitted to taking cocaine, marijuana and magic mushrooms. And a lot of people are saying, was he honest and truthful in his application, in his visa application? You have to say, have you taken drugs? He said no, and then in Spare he said yes. So I think this is absolutely fascinating. They're saying they can't release these records because there is a stigma attached to law enforcement records. Yes, there's a stigma attached to that, but then don't say... everybody else, if you write yes on a visa application, you will be chucked out of the United States. You will be denied entry. So I think this is fascinating that on this issue of whether there is a stigma for Harry or not, he can have his law enforcement records not released into the public domain.
The bottom line is, do we want him back?
So what's interesting is it seems to be becoming a political dividing line in the States because Biden is the administration trying to do Harry a favour by keeping them under wraps, but Trump has promised that he will, the file will be made public if he wins again.
Trump's been very strong on this. He said, if Harry lied, then he's out.
The one thing about America is their politicians make ours look sane. Which is saying something.
I'm slightly confused about this whole story because, OK, sure, Prince Harry has said this. How many pop stars, rock stars, movie stars, like every
the difference is, well, I don't think it's just British. I think millions of Brits, to be fair to them, lie on the form every year. Millions of people from around the world lie on the form every year. Not, of course,
I'm not going to name any pop star specifically, but I would be mightily surprised if any hadn't indulged in what...
Yes, but of course they haven't given written evidence in their biography that they have, and that's the difference.
Britain's election channel.
GB News is Britain's election channel.
And when the big stories break, we're tackling them on Britain's newsroom. When we disagree, and we disagree a lot, it's even livelier than normal.
We don't disagree that much.
We do.
His comedy, though, is revolting. I knew her, and unlike you.
That explains Beverly Turner's temperament.
It's a bit frosty in here, isn't it?
He'll have one of me one day.
For dartball practice. Britain's newsroom on GB News. Weekdays, 9:30 a.m.
GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
Our job is to do what's in the best interest of our country.
You made my argument for me. My guest and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
I'm hearing it up and down the country. That was a beginning, not an end.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. We've got the Telegraph now with the reversal of traditional gender roles as women go to work and men stay home. Although I'm not sure how much housework they're getting done with this.
I am, and I do a lot of housework. This is the Louis Schaefer story. This is what's happening. It's in the Telegraph, and they're complaining that the women, when women do work, when women work, they have to go to school and do it. They're in education, they're in healthcare, they're in retail, so they've got to go. But men can do work anywhere. And last week they had the Icelandic women went on strike. And nobody noticed. Nobody noticed because nobody cares.
And it was like 80 or 90% of the total working women in Iceland as well.
Yes.
Right, so that kind of backfired.
And it backfired because the truth is, and women. I mean, I've been in enough women's houses in this country, trying my best. And the fact is, women in this country are not house proud anymore.
Okay, well, maybe just not the ones who let you in their house. Yeah. We've got the Daily Mail now with the latest sign that our society's dying. We're finding ugly people attractive, Paul.
We are, thank God for that. How hot rodent men became Hollywood's sexiest heartthrobs. Gen Z fans are going wild for actors with unusual features, including Barry Keoghan, Kieran Culkin and Jeremy Allen White, all of which I don't know, other than Kieran Culkin, because he's Macaulay Culkin's little brother. The reign of the golden retriever heartthrobs, I mean, I don't know why anything's associated to animals, but it is, I'm going to read what's written in here, is apparently over. Instead, women long for someone who is loyal, unconventionally attractive, with sharp eyes and angular faces.
That's what's in now.
Well, I don't believe it is, because any woman we know women. Yeah. Lewis has met a couple.
Yeah.
All they really want is like a nice fella.
No, that is totally not true. Do you really believe that?
Oh my God, that's why I put all my chips on. They don't want a nice one.
You've seen too many Disney films, Paul.
You know what? Something's wrong when I'm doing much better than he is. They don't want that. So I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm going to interrupt you. The fact is why do they like these guys who are dangerous and scary and bad boys? They're rodents. They didn't use the word rat. Rodent. Yeah. It sometimes sounds better. Because this is a wild war. We're about to be killed. We're at wars from every different, and we need a man who's strong.
And looks like he can chew through electrical wiring.
Yeah.
We've got the Daily Mail again, and a lesbian dating app is using technology to stop women like me from using it, Lewis.
Yes, it's called the app. And this woman, Jenny Watson, who created it. And they have an app for women to meet people, to lesbians to meet each other. And I feel bad for women that they have to go through what men have been going through for centuries.
Well, they have to try and exclude men from this app because men are identifying as women to try and, say to lesbians, look, you've got to have sex with me now.
Yeah, but the truth is, I wasn't listening. The truth is, I'm sorry. The truth is that this is transphobic. It's saying we can spot you as a man.
Yeah, the computer.
The computer can do it. But if you went up to somebody and you said, I think you're a man, that's transphobic.
Yeah, that's a hate crime.
That's a hate crime. So this woman is like so proud of herself. Look, we got a computer to do it. She doesn't realize the trouble that she's in. Am I right?
Yeah, well, women like me are going to be outraged.
Exactly. Yeah. I've matched with Leo a couple of times on Bumble, and I was outraged. Look, this is probably a good thing. I'll tell you for why, because there are lesbians out there. We've almost forgotten the whole gay culture. Men who are sexually attracted to men, women who are sexually attracted to women, right? That's what they like.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as we got to the point
What
where...
do they like?
They like people of the female sex. And as soon as we arrived to that point in our sort of society where the majority of people did, they changed all the rules again and said anyone can be a woman.
And let's just squeeze this one in finally. The Sun now with news that will give hope to horny pensioners everywhere. Rupert Murdoch has found love at the age of 93. Do you think this time it's for keeps, Lewis?
I actually do think it's for keeps, because he's about to die, so it's going to last to the end of his life. He's 93 years old. He's got more... It's only a 26-year age difference at his age. That's not very much. She's like 67. Nothing wrong with 67. I'm 67. I would.
How come she looks better than you?
She does
How come you look more like the 93-year-old Lewis?
Because if I wore a dress like that, I'd look good. I'm wearing this schmata.
You're not entirely unlike that dress from what you're wearing now.
And yet she's got probably... I don't know who the photographer is, but the photographer is probably a very... Look at him.
How many wives has he had now?
They make a
5.
lovely couple, I've got to be honest. Anyway, that's the show nearly over, so let's take another quick look at Monday's front pages. The Times leads with Tory vow to end abuse of gender laws by predators. The Guardian has care agencies accused of exploiting foreign workers. The Daily Express has he inspired the nation. Rob Burrow dies at 41 after motor neurone disease battle. The Independent has NHS fails to carry out any actions urged by Jimmy Savile inquiry. And the Daily Star has the bravest man in Britain. And those were your front pages. And that's all we have time for. Thanks so much to my guests, Paul Cox and Lewis Schaefer. And we're back tomorrow at 11 p.m. when Lewis will return with Simon Evans and Jonathan Cogan. And if you're watching at 5 a.m, stay tuned for breakfast. Goodbye.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to your GB News weather update brought to you by the Met Office. Well, we've seen plenty of fine weather over the weekend. However, this week is going to be turning more unsettled and a little bit cooler. For today, though, we have had high pressure dominating the weather over the UK, but we have had this frontal system move into the northwest and a slight squeeze in those isobars too, so turning damp and rather windy. It is gradually going to be clouding over from the north through into this evening, staying clearest for longest across the south. And we will start to see some outbreaks of rain and drizzle continue to move their way into northwestern areas. So turning a little bit cooler under the clear spells in the south, but for most a rather mild night and most places not dropping below double digits. So to start on Monday, there will be a little bit of brightness in the south, but as I say, it will gradually cloud over through the course of the morning, staying largely dry though. However, we will start to see some rain and drizzle move its way into northwestern England, northern parts of Wales, and quite a cloudy picture across Northern Ireland and northwest Scotland, still with that rain and drizzle, but brightening up through the morning across parts of Aberdeenshire, and there will be some sunny spells across the Northern Isles, but plenty of showers in between those spells of sunshine. Overall on Monday, it is going to be a rather cloudy picture, still with those spots of rain and drizzle in the northwest. By the time we reach the afternoon, it may brighten up a little bit across central and southern UK, but most of the sunshine is going to be across Scotland. However, quite a blustery day on offer there, so that will just take the edge off the temperatures a little bit. But in those sheltered spots where you catch the sunshine, it should still be feeling warm. Now, as we head into Tuesday, we are going to see a bit of a change. Further rain moving in from the northwest, quite blustery, and plenty of showers behind too. However, it will still be staying dry across the south and southeast and still feeling warm where you do catch any sunnier spells, but cooler across Scotland, particularly in that wind. And as we head into next week, fairly unsettled, largely dry in the south, but it is going to be feeling largely cool.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
We've got summer sewn up with an incredible trio of treats, and you could win them. First, there's a fabulous £15,000 in tax-free cash to ensure this summer is special. What would you spend that on? Next, you'll also receive the latest iPhone 15 and a set of Apple AirPods. And finally, £500 to spend at your favourite UK attraction. Fun in the sun could be on us. For a chance to win the iPhone, treats and £15,000 cash, text prize to 63232. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or post your name and number to GB06 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 28th of June. Full terms and privacy notice at gbnews.com/win. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
We're GB News, and we come from a proud tradition of British journalism.
That's why I'm so excited to be here. It's something so new.
The first news channel to be launched in Britain in over 30 years.
Launched to represent the views of the British people.
To go where other broadcasters refuse to go.
How did you find out about the story in the first place?
Launched with one aim.
To be the fearless champion of Britain.
It's an absolutely fantastic atmosphere here.
This is GB News.
GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News is the home of free speech. We were created to champion it, and we deliver it day in, day out.
Free speech allows us all to explore and debate openly the issues most important to us, our families, and of course, the British people.
Having challenging conversations to enlighten each other.
Which is why we hear all sides of the argument.
We are the People's Channel.
We will always stand by the freedom to express yourself.
On TV, radio and online.
This is GB News,
Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes. Thank you for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Very good evening to you. You're watching and listening to GB News. It's 7 o'clock and the top stories from the newsroom. First, we'll bring you some breaking news tonight. From the sporting world, we've heard that rugby league legend Rob Burrow has died at the age of 41. He was diagnosed with motor neurone disease in December 2019 and was awarded a CBE last year for his fundraising work to raise awareness for the MND condition. It came just 2 years after he retired from playing in the rugby league following a 17-year career, including 8 grand final wins, 3 World Club challenges and 2 Challenge Cups. Well, he spent his entire career playing for Leeds Rhinos, who announced that news tonight, saying he was an inspiration for the entire country. Rob Burrow, who has died at the age of 41. Well, in some other breaking political news tonight, Diane Abbott has confirmed that she does intend to run as a candidate for the Labour Party in July's general election. And that comes after speculation that she may have been choosing to stand down. The veteran MP's taken to social media tonight to say that she is the adopted Labour candidate for the seat that she has held since 1987. It comes after Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer said that Miss Abbott was free to go forward as a Labour candidate, ending days of speculation about her future. And staying with Labour, migration has been at the forefront of their election campaigning today after accusing the Conservatives of having repeatedly broken their promises. Sir Keir Starmer's promising to bring net migration down if he wins the general election, with new laws to train British workers and to plug gaps in the jobs market. Speaking to The Sun on Sunday, he said last year's net migration figure of 685,000, he says, has to come down, while Shadow Home Secretary Yvette Cooper refused to put a time frame on that promise or to set any specific targets.
Well, net migration has trebled in the last 5 years under the Conservatives. One of the biggest drivers of that has been work migration. We're not setting a specific target on it. And the reason for that is partly because the Conservatives have just effectively ripped up all the targets that they've set over many years. They've discredited the whole process. But also, more importantly, because there are short-term factors that can affect the numbers. And what we think instead is we need to have a long-term approach that is about bringing net migration down and tackling the failings in the system.
Meanwhile, the Conservatives say that they would free up 20 million GP appointments by the end of the next Parliament. That's if they return to power. They're promising 100 new GP surgeries across England and to modernise 150 others. They're also pledging to expand their Pharmacy First scheme. Those plans, they say, would be paid for by cutting the number of NHS managers to pre-pandemic levels. Health Secretary Victoria Adkins says they are working to make the NHS better.
My job as Health Secretary, for example, is to explain our vision for our NHS, which is to reform it to make it faster, simpler and fairer. And some of the announcements I have today concerning GP surgeries, concerning Pharmacy First and community diagnostic centres are the ways that we will help deliver that over the coming years. We are going to fund this. It's fully funded. We're going to fund it partly through a reduction of managers in the NHS.
And also out on the campaign trail today, the SNP launched their election campaign pledge in Glasgow, accusing Labour and the Conservatives of failing Scotland. First Minister John Swinney told a crowd people in Scotland want rid of what he called disastrous, chaotic Conservative government. He also spoke about independence under the SNP, saying it would allow the country to make its own decisions and to enhance the lives of Scottish people.
And it's the people of Scotland I want to speak to directly today as we set out our message.